Hello, welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to be doing something very interesting. So I indulge you to follow me through so that you wouldn't miss anything. I'll be sharing my entire screen. I wouldn't just be sharing my browser because we'll be going to a Windows virtual machine very soon. But let me just give some background to what we are really doing. In the last video, I told you about how the need for a um, how we can eliminate the need for a connection string by using an application object. So we created an application object and we linked up the application object to the resource on Azure that we were interested in, either a storage account or the Azure Key Vault, and we saw a demonstration on how we use the application object to see the value of the secrets in Azure Key Vault. However, if you noticed, we need to specify some details around the application object. We needed to have the tenant ID, we needed to have the client ID, and also the client secrets. So even though we've eliminated the need for a connection string and the sensitivity of what is being seen in our code have reduced, but still there are still some confidential information that was within our code. So now there is a feature in Microsoft Azure as part of the Microsoft Identity Framework that eliminates the need for all those IDs. So you are not using client ID, you are not using what's it called, tenant ID, you are not using client secrets. All you are using is the Azure Active Directory, otherwise known as Entra ID. And that is what we are going to be doing today. It is otherwise known as, the concept we are introducing is otherwise known as managed identities. And it's called managed identities because Microsoft will be responsible for the management of the identities, and there will be some token exchange along the line. We are going to be seeing more about that later on. But take a look at this code. This code does basically the same thing that our last code does, but if, as you can see, we are not specifying any form of ID like tenant ID, client secret, and so many confidential information. All we just need is the URL to the key vaults and the name of the secret. This can be any name. The important thing is that is the value of the secret that is not here. So I just called it my secret. So this is the simple code. The code is cleaner, it's simpler, and it makes a lot more sense to adopt this approach. So let me now go to my let me go to my browser. Let me go to my Azure portal. Let me share my entire window. So I think for now, I can still share just my browser, but at some point, I'll be sharing my entire window so that you can see what I'm working on. So there are two core things that you need to do. First, this is my key vault. This is my key vault. Let me go to secrets because it's a secret that we are trying to retrieve. So I created this key vault. I didn't use role-based access control. I used access policy. So that's all I did here. Then I came over. So then let me create my secret first. So let me just call this name. Let me call it so I think let me still use the one I have so that I will not need to recreate the runnable version of my code again. So let me still use this my secrets, which we already know what is in there. But one thing I want you to take note of is After creating your key vaults, so the whole idea about the managed identity is that we have a virtual machine. I want to run this my code in that virtual machine. And the reason why I'm running it in that virtual machine and not using an application object is that application object comes with a set of credentials which I do not want to specify in my code. So I have a virtual machine. This is my virtual machine. And this is my virtual machine that I just created. It's a Windows Server data center. Then the interesting part, what you need to do in this virtual machine, the important thing is scroll here over to identity, come over to under security identity, then you need to enable this. So it's off by default. You switch it on and you are fine with system assigned because I want Microsoft to be the one responsible for assigning an identity to this. And you can see over here that it says this resource is registered with Microsoft Entra ID, blah, 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 blah. So this is the interesting part. And you need to take note of, there's a principal ID here, which we are going to be using to grant this virtual machine access to our key vault. Then you come over here, that's after creating your virtual machine and you have enabled a system assigned identity. Then you come over to the to access policies. As I said earlier on, I am not using RBAC. I'm not using role-based access control. I'm using access policy. So you can see I have the name of the virtual machine here. So you just need to, the same way we did, we created access policies. We came over, show secret management, then go to next, then you pick, come over here and you pick, enter the name of your VM, enter the name of your VM for .NET, which I already showed. Then click on this. You can see it's listed here. But because I already did that, I do not need to do it again. So I close this and you can see it's listed here. Essentially, the only permission I even need is just get and list for secrets. But because I use the template, that's why we have others listed here. So what you need to do next is that after doing this, so you need to spin up the virtual machine. So I spinned it up using the RDP file that was downloaded. Then I also gave the virtual machine access to my C drive by editing instead of just connecting. Then when I edited, I gave it access to my C drive because what I'll be doing is I will go into my C drive, locate where. So let me go to my Visual Studio first. So I will go into my C drive, locate where this program is, then I will copy the build code for it. That's the runnable version. Then I would run it in my VM. And before you can get your runnable version, you need to come over to build and build solution. So we cannot run it here because if we should run it, we are not going to be getting the expected result because it is the virtual machine that has access to our key vault and not my Windows that I'm currently running. Is the virtual machine that we've assigned, that we gave the secrets permissions to the secrets, rather than because we are not using an application object that is linked to this. So that is why if we should run it here, we are not going to get the expected result. We are not going to see the secrets. So when you build the solution, you are going to have a runnable version that will allow you to be able to come over here. So let me go to where I want to come to. Yeah, so I would share again. Yeah, that will allow you to be able to copy this. So this is the repository. So you can see the namespace .NET secrets managed identity. So you come over here, go to the bin folder, debug, then .NET 6.0. This is what you need to copy when you are in the Windows Server. You copy it into the Windows Server environment. That was why I needed to give it access to my C drive over here. Okay, so now I will be going to the Windows Server so that we can see what is really happening over there. So I'll be sharing my entire screen, my entire window, so that you can see everything. Okay, so I believe you can see my entire screen now. So now I'm going to the Windows Server. So I'm in the Windows Server now. So what you need to do is when you come over here, you can see that if I go to this PC, I have access to my C drive, my host machine. And the reason is because in the setting, I gave it access. That's why I have access to this. So I can go into here and I already went into this folder and I navigated into where I store my .NET projects. Then I copied that folder. Then after copying the folder, I went to my documents in this Windows Server and I pasted it here. This is the folder for my own host computer. But before you can run, so this is the program that I ran. But before you can run this, you must have installed .NET um, .NET runtime, desktop runtime into this Windows Server. And I already went to what was it called? I went to Internet Explorer and you can see I already downloaded it and I installed it. .NET 6.0 desktop runtime. And I went for 6.0 because the program was written in 6.0. I know that from Visual Studio it was 6.0 that I chose. That was why I went for this one. And you how do you get here? You can just Google download .NET 6.0 runtime and press enter and you will get to this Microsoft page. So what we need to do is after coming here, because I have built this, I built the project from my Visual Studio and this is the runnable version that we have here. And I already have .NET installed in this Windows Server. I can just click on the application here and I will get the output. And if I should click on it now, you are going to see what I stored in the secret, which is I love Jesus. So if I click on it, you see that this value of the secret is I love Jesus, which was what I stored from my Azure portal. So I believe this video gives us a clear understanding on how managed identities work. This is a very simple example. We are going to be looking at more complex example later on. I believe we get the idea. So you have a resource that you want to grant access from your application, then you have another resource. So you need to use um, access policies, create access policies and assign permissions to that resource. In this case, we created access policies and we assigned permissions to our virtual machine that granted it access to our secrets in our key vault. It does not have to be key vault. It can be a storage account. It can be an application that requires access to a storage account, a blob, a container. So that application, all we just need to do is the same thing that we did over here. The virtual machine needs to we need to copy the configuration file into our virtual machine for that application, and the virtual machine needs to be granted access. So that's just the logic behind this. In subsequent examples, in the background, tokens are being generated and they are being validated. You can see we said system assigned. So that is why we are delegating all that to Microsoft. Microsoft's Windows Server and Microsoft Identity platform are the ones responsible for all that. So that's the end of this video. We've spent quite some time. I hope you've been able to gain something. If you have, don't hesitate to share, like, and subscribe.